Okay, y'all, I'm gonna try making this video on my porch instead of in the truck and see if maybe I can avoid getting swarmed by mosquitoes or wasps. I tried to make this video the other day and realized when I went to edit it several hours later that I had my finger over the microphone for half the video. So, it is a beautiful Sunday on Memorial Day weekend here in Oklahoma. It's in the 80s and it is humid as all get out, which is pretty much par for the course. I've done my Couch to 5K training today. I will talk more about that in my next video. I'm drinking my recovery juice in my recycled peanut butter jar. Yeah. Okay, so I'm doing this particular video pretty much for my friend Lori. For my friend Lori Rosenblatt Frid. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I always put it in print. I don't ever have to say it out loud. Okay, anyway. Who is just one of the most dear to my heart people that I know. And she wants so badly to make sure that everyone who's hurting gets better, like she and I have, and learns what we've learned. And sometimes it's hard for her to accept that we can't heal anyone but ourselves. But we can share what we have learned and pray that they will take it to heart and do something with it. In fact, we have a responsibility to do that, in my view. So Lori's sister has been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and she's just worried sick over her. With good reason. I think autoimmune disease is probably going to overtake, or at least catch up with heart disease and cancer as one of the major killers in this country. And all of those can be improved, if not completely corrected, with nutrition. I'm basically, all I'm going to do in this video is share my history with autoimmune disease. Now, we all know I had a lot of things going on with the, blood pressure and structural problems with my knee and my shoulder, and Paget's disease in my back, which supposedly isn't autoimmune, but it wouldn't surprise me if they eventually figure out that it is too. It just all seems so connected to me, but that's another subject. Anyway, I have a long and torrid history with autoimmune disease, and had a lot of people thinking I was completely crazy for many years because of the way that I handled it. But I am the owner of my body, and I believe firmly in everyone's right to handle their own issues in their own way. So, as you will see. So, I'm 52, and you'll have to forgive me because I kind of remember things by how old which of my kids was at the time, So, Cheyenne's 26, and when she was about 5 or 6 years old, I started having really scary symptoms. I already had been told that I had rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. Well, no, the fibromyalgia wasn't actually diagnosed for a couple of years after that, but I had rheumatoid arthritis, and I was very overweight. I was probably about what I weigh now. That was not destined to be anywhere close to my highest weight. I was probably in the 230s at least, if not the 240s or 250s. I was very active and outdoorsy. We had bought property that was completely untouched, and we were clearing it and putting in a driveway. I had when I say doing it, I don't mean paying people to do it. I mean doing it ourselves. And I had horses out there, and we were putting up fence and you know, clearing brush and things like that every day, and I was extremely active. But I started having these really weird weak spells where I couldn't hardly stand up. And they would usually pass fairly quickly, but sometimes they would last for several hours or several days, and that started to scare me. So I went to my doctor, and oh, and I couldn't close my eyes without practically falling over from the vertigo. So my doctor knew me pretty well. She was a great doctor. I wish she had not left her practice for, she took a university position. I was so sad when I lost that doctor. Of course, we moved away later, so. But anyway, Dr. Carter was great. She was trying really hard to figure out what was wrong with me. She was quite sure it was going to turn out to be MS or lupus, and ran all the tests, and it just didn't, you know, match up. She kept saying that she really thought it was going to be lupus anyway, because lupus, she said lupus was more a matter of process of elimination, that you couldn't really completely diagnose it. Of course, this was 20 years ago. I don't know what the process for diagnosing lupus is nowadays, but I underwent quite a few tests, and I was just getting worse. And you know, she said, well, maybe it's lupus, and they, you know, we'll just kind of go on that. But about that time, like I said, she left her practice, and I did not like her replacement at all. He said, well, it's maybe it's chronic fatigue syndrome. A lot of people, you know, have that nowadays, or that's basically what he said. That was kind of a diagnosis for when they don't know why the heck you're having those particular symptoms. But so I pretty much just blew it all off and figured I'd just deal with it as it happened. And you know, well, over the course of the next few years, we moved from, that was in Missouri, not Oklahoma. We moved from Missouri to Oklahoma, and I went through several doctors. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Still, every once in a while, a doctor would try to figure out why, you know, what was going on with me, and say they'd become convinced that the previous doctors just hadn't, you know, known what they were doing, and they'd test me for MS and lupus all over again, you know. And I kind of stopped going to doctors. I was also having a lot of problems with other issues at the time, and with my husband changing employers a couple of times. We didn't have insurance for long periods of time, and I just started avoiding doctors, to be honest. I wasn't on any prescription drugs. I didn't want to be. I have always had a thing against being put on long-term medications. That goes way back in my own personal life, and I'm not going to go into that, but if I can avoid going on a prescription drug, I will. If it's something you're going to take for a specific purpose, and then for X number of days, weeks, or whatever, and then be off of it, we'll talk. But anyway, so I'm just avoiding doctors and getting more and more obese, more and more weak, more and more in pain every day. And so the summer we were in Henrietta, Cheyenne was about 13, 14 at the time. So at this point, we've been going on for, you know, 6 or 7 years. It got really bad. It was a really hot summer, and it got really, really bad. And I was practically bedfast that entire summer. If I even tried to go outside and in that heat and walk to my car, we'd better hope my son or husband was there to catch me, because it was really bad. And it started affecting my vision and my speech. And so I went to a doctor. I actually kind of liked him. I didn't go to him for very long. It was too far of a drive. But he again went through the whole, are we sure it's not lupus thing, you know. But a day came when I was having respiratory distress, and I started having chest pains, pretty significant chest pains, and I went to the emergency room, and they during the course of testing to make sure I wasn't having a heart attack, I guess, whatever, they discovered a mass in my chest. And so they did is it a CT scan, the thing with the big donut? I never can keep them straight. It's like you're going into a big donut. Anyway, they did that. They did, I think that's a CT scan. And they said that I had a tumor in my thymus gland. And so Dr. Wright sent me to a surgeon. And the surgeon was talking to me, and he was, well, you know, with your history of blood clots, you're not really a candidate for surgery. But, you know, removing that doesn't always help the symptoms anyway. And I was like, what symptoms? He said, well, the MG symptoms. I said, what's MG? He said, have you not been diagnosed with MG? I said, I don't even know what that is. He said, nobody has suggested to you? And he started asking me, well, do you have this symptom, listing off all these symptoms? And I said, I've been trying to figure out why I was having those symptoms for 7 years. They kept testing me for MS and lupus. He said, nobody has ever suggested to you that you had MG? And I said, I don't even know what that is. So I'm going with no. He said, that's myasthenia gravis. And it's a related autoimmune disease that, you know, your body creates antibodies that attack your own systems. And often it starts with the large motor skills, you know, the large motor system, and then the small motor system. He said, you're having symptoms of both. And it can attack the respiratory system, the circulatory system. It's an equal opportunity destroyer. And he said a tumor in your thymus gland called a thymoma is usually related to that disease, very commonly. And people have often removed that tumor and found that it relieves the symptoms in some cases to some degree. But it's not a great enough amount of the time to make it worth the risk that it would be for someone with your history of blood clots. But at any rate, he did refer me to is it a neurologist, I guess, whatever specialty deals with MS and lupus and MG. And I went through a bunch of tests. Can I just say that when you have MG, having your muscles electrically stimulated to encourage them to shut down, to demonstrate to the doctor that you in fact have MG, is not fun. So I was diagnosed with MG, and that was, Cheyenne was 14 by the time I was actually diagnosed. I do remember that because of some things that were going on in Cheyenne's life. Let's just say my middle daughter blossomed and started looking like a 20-year-old supermodel when she hit 14, which was crazy making. So I had MG, I had rheumatoid arthritis, I had trashed my knee and my shoulder when I was pretty young. And then, oh, I forgot the best part. This doctor, before I left his office that day, he handed me prescriptions for, I can't remember which one, an immunosuppressant. I don't remember if it was that methotrexate or what, but it was one was an immunosuppressant and the other one was a steroid. And I just put my hands back. I'm like, nope, no thanks. Not yet. Slow down there, Turbo. And he said, it's very important that we get you started on this course of medication right away. I'm like, this has been going on for 7 years, and now suddenly it's really important that we get this started today. I need to go talk to my family, you know, find out more about these drugs. And he acted like I was a complete idiot because I didn't just take the prescriptions and start taking the drugs. And I just didn't go back to him because I went and researched those drugs and wanted no part of it. And now this was right in the middle of that summer where most of the time I was completely bedfast or miserable. Sorry, I had to take a break and slug down some of my recovery juice. So I didn't take the drugs. I waited for summer to pass. My particular MG, you know, everyone's body reacts in its own way to any illness, and my body was extremely reactive to extremes in temperature. And basically, I got through the next, Cheyenne's 26, so the next 12 years, trying really hard to avoid extremes in much of anything. Don't get too hot, too cold, too stressed, too angry, too tired. Oh, too tired was bad. The worst ones that would set off an MG attack every time was too hot or too tired. Oh, and before I left, the doctor that thought that I was insane told me that especially left untreated, this disease would make it virtually impossible to lose weight, because I wouldn't be able to work out, because if I got too hot it would set off the MG, blah blah blah. And that to do myself a favor and start, you know, get a membership at the Y so I could swim. I didn't do that for quite a few years, but I did eventually, and he was right about that. That was the best thing I could do at the time with the knowledge that I had. I didn't know about nutritional healing then, like I do now. So with the knowledge that I had at that time, he was right. The swimming was the best thing that I could have done. But he said that, you know, working out really hard enough to improve my muscle tone or anything would be virtually impossible, and that any muscle mass that I lost would be gone for good, that I would never be able to regain it, and that it would be virtually impossible to lose weight, so I would need to make sure I did everything I could not to gain any more weight. Let's see, at that point I was probably about 260. I eventually got up to 340 pounds. And then about, so I already had the RA that was autoimmune. I had the fibromyalgia, which is, most people consider to also be autoimmune. I had the big one, MG. And then about 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroid disease and put on the medication for that. The name escapes me at the moment, I'm sorry. Anyway, and then last year, about this time last year, it's been just a little over a year, I was diagnosed with Paget's disease of the bone and told that I, under no circumstances, was to do any weight-bearing exercise, because it was causing the bones in my hips and pelvis to become deformed, because the bones there were very soft, and with at that point I was about 320 and went into a real depression and gained about another 20 pounds. And I still, at this point, had not ever given in and taken their drugs. Now a lot of people would, when I started to become really depressed and feel like, you know, my life was over, all the good times were done for me. Well, silly, why don't you, you know, give in and take the drugs and see if they can help you? Well, I had read too much about the results of getting on that particular merry-go-round. And as I said, I had a real problem with becoming a lifetimer on any medication. It goes back to my mom and things that happened early in my life, and well, you know, a lot of people said I was crazy, but I really believe that, well, I believe that it was God working in my life, and that He knew where I was headed and what I really needed to ultimately get to. And there were times over the course of the years when things in my life tried to head me in the direction of nutritional healing, like when my son was having seizures daily when he was only 2 and 3 years old, and they couldn't figure out why, and it ended up being because of food additives. And I, you know, exchanged letters with some food corporations that were very eye-opening, that they just don't care. They know, and they don't care. So anyway, that brings us up to about a year ago. I had literally given up. I was starting to get even sicker. I was on blood pressure medication. I was on thyroid medication. Had just been started on the, I think it was Fosamax, for the bone disease. It hurt so badly in my lower back, and I also have degenerative disc disease in my back. You know, and with the knee, the shoulder, the back, the Paget's disease in my pelvis and hips, I was in severe pain all the time, and I would not live on pain medication, prescription pain medication. I wouldn't even. I had that last year gotten to where I was taking quite a lot of ibuprofen and Tylenol, and I took daily aspirin anyway because of the blood clots. I'm not going into the whole blood clot, the blood thinners right on this one. That's a whole other can of worms. But anyway, August 17th, I saw Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and Forks Over Knives, and Food Matters. Watched a couple of them on cancer with Crazy Sexy Cancer and Gerson Miracle, and started reading. Read the China Study, Whole, Eat to Live. Excuse me. I don't know. I've read a bunch of books on and looked up every book or video I could find. Also looked up some of the arguments against it, which I think is important to do. The arguments against it come off to me clear as a bell as the meat and dairy and pharmaceutical industry fighting back, trying to keep their cash cow. That's the way I look at it. But anyway, August 23rd, I started juicing, and then went from juicing to using juice as a supplement and eating a plant-based diet, high raw. I eat a lot of raw. I do also eat some cooked fruits and veggies. I don't really supplement a whole lot. I do. One of my daughters was on a lot of allergy medicines and antacids, so she supplements with B12. So far, I'm not B12 deficient, so I'm okay there. But I do take iodine because of the thyroid. I'm completely off of the thyroid medications, and my thyroid levels are normal. I'm off of the blood pressure medication. My blood pressure is completely normal. They weren't even able to keep it really in the normal range, even with the medication. I was having pretty serious symptoms of congestive heart failure, and those went away immediately. I'm no longer in any pain whatsoever. In fact, I can get down and crawl around on the ground with my grandkids on a knee that, well, that's again for another video, but I mean, no pain. No pain. Do you get that? I mean, I don't know what else would be necessary to prove that plants heal, that they heal the body, that the body can and will heal itself and regenerate missing tissue. It will regenerate diseased parts to healthy whole ones. I mean, people that know me don't doubt. People that know me personally and see me every day. I worry about a video like this because clearly I'm still obese. You know, I started at 340 pounds and I've lost about 82 at this point. That's been since August 23rd. I have a ways to go. But it's the health. My health has gone from... When I saw that there was a movie called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, my first thought was, oh my gosh, they made a movie about me. And sadly, there's a lot of people out there that would describe themselves that way. It's really sad and scary just how many. That's the way they describe their lives. The fact that so many people are hurting so much when they don't have to be. When I think of what all my mom went through that she didn't have to. It's hard to take. I think that the majority of Western civilization has forgotten how good it's supposed to feel to be a human being and doing and living. That's not supposed to be something you trudge through. It's supposed to be joyful. It's supposed to feel good. And now, for me, it does. I mean, I worked up a heck of a sweat today because it's in the 80s and it's humid as all get out. Clouds are rolling in. I'll show you. I don't know if you can see them. Supposedly, we're going to get some rain. Praise God. We're supposed to get, we need it. We need rain bad. So even though, did you hear that? That's thunder. Woohoo! We're needing rain badly, and even though I know there's a lot of people at the lake right now, including my kids, we need it. We need the rain. So it's hot and humid, but I still went and did my Couch to 5K training, and been doing that for a little over a week now. And I get out there and I work up a sweat, honey. I get hot. I get my heart rate up. I get hot and sweaty. My bad knee that supposedly needed a total knee replacement, but they couldn't do it because of my history of blood clots. Well, it doesn't swell, it doesn't ache, it doesn't twinge, nothing. And I haven't had even a hint of an MG flare since detox, the first few days of juice fast. Now, the first few days of juice fast, it acted like I was getting the early signs of one for about 2 days, and then they went away. And I have not had even a hint of a flare that usually is so easily set off by heat, by getting too hot or too tired. And trust me, with the moving and all this, I've gotten both a lot this week. Plants heal. Your body was designed to heal. Your body wasn't designed to need chemicals to heal. Let's face it, most of human history, those weren't available. So, I mean, if you believe in any kind of intelligent design at all, how intelligent would it be to design this body not to be able to heal itself? As I said, the only person that's responsible for me is me. The only person that's responsible for you is you. I can only share my experience and then pray for you. Juice on, y'all. We got this.